Now, BJ, I know you're not a huge stats guy like myself, but I'm going to hit you with some numbers because something has really stood out to me. Something that's kind of gone under the radar, a little bit written off at the start of the season. And that's our boy, Luka Magic, over there in Dallas. Now, he's not known for his defense. The Mavs aren't known to be a defensive team. But let me hit you with some numbers. Up until November the 30th, in the first 19 games they played, they were 23rd in net rating. They were 21st in defense and 19th in offense. But since December the 1st, the Dallas Mavericks have been third in net rating. They've had the number 2 defense in the NBA and they're number 12 in offense. Since Luka came back from the COVID protocol, they're 7-1. They've had the league best defense since Luka's came back. And they went on a little win streak going 7-1. They won 6 games in a row. And in that streak, their defense shut down opponents. I'm going to hit you with the teams they played, how many points they score on average, and how many they scored against the Mavs. The Sacramento Kings usually score 110 points. They only scored 96 against the Mavs. OKC usually score 100 points. They only scored 86 against the Mavs. Denver, Nikola Jokic MVP, 106. They only scored 89. The Golden State Warriors usually average 111 points. They only scored 82. The Houston Rockets, they got held to 106, and the Chicago Bulls got held to just 99 points by the Dallas Mavericks. Now, this defense, what stood out to you from watching Luka and the boys on their recent run and really finding their rhythm and flying a little bit under the radar with it?
Well, it's been interesting to watch this team because last week, Mo, while we were doing television on Sky TV,
yes, sir,
there was a game that we had to pick for game of the week. And that game was the Chicago Bulls versus the Dallas Mavericks.
Yes, sir.
And I told you, Mo, then I said, I'm going to pick Dallas to win that game. I just want to remind it to you, Mo, because I'm not right very often. But when I am right, I want to make sure, Mo, that you know.
I'm hearing it. I'm hearing it.
The thing that has stood out to me about the Dallas Mavericks has been the following. Coach Kidd has implemented a defensive game plan for this team in the absence of Luka Doncic. If there's one thing that we can criticize about his game, and it's not much, because he's such a complete player on the offensive end, has been his defensive effort and presence on that end of the court. However, Jalen Brunson has stepped in admirably in the absence of Luka Doncic. Jalen Brunson has really stepped his game up into a leadership capacity where suddenly now they are a defensive, gritty group. They're playing the game, getting loose balls. They're moving the ball around, and they're playing as a team. And I think that helped. I thought that helped the team. I thought it's helped Luka Doncic, but more importantly, Luka now, when you watched him, I watched him the other night versus the Memphis Grizzlies.
Yes.
Suddenly now playing a better brand, what I would consider winning basketball.
Yes.
But he's still putting up his numbers, but it's the maturing process. And I think that starts with the defensive end. We can talk about offense and we can talk about scoring and we can talk about triple doubles. And Luka is without a question, he's a top 10 player. But when you start playing defense and giving those type of efforts on the defensive end, suddenly now you're playing a winning brand of basketball. And I think that's all started with Jalen Brunson. He's been really the mainstay or the most consistent player on the team. And I think now he stepped into a leadership role. And by the way, he's going to be I
was about to say, we're going to talk about him in a second.
Mo.
We'll talk about him in a second.
Yeah, I think he's going to be,
oftentimes I've watched Luka and he's not been given the effort defensively because he's doing so much on the offensive end. And I think now he's starting to realize if you play great defense as a team, because what I love about this Dallas defense is they play like they're on a string. You know what I mean when I say that is their rotations, they're going to help against the Grizzlies, especially had a great game plan. They went under a lot of screens because they know the Grizzlies aren't a great three-point shooting team. That's their weakness. And, in all fairness to the Grizzlies, they were very tired. They played 8 games in 12 nights or something crazy.
Right.
But the game plan was there for Dallas and they were very coordinated. And what Luka's figuring out is it's easier to score the ball in transition than it is to walk up and have the defense set for you. It's easier to get a stop, get out, find your teammates or go yourself. And it's, like you said, part of the maturing process. But Jalen Brunson, who I wanted to talk about, as you say, is going to be a restricted free agent. He's very in demand from a lot of teams coming up to the trade deadline. Right. There's a lot of rumors around the New York Knicks because the New York Knicks, Derrick Rose is obviously out injured. The Kemba Walker situation remains what it is. The Knicks really want a point guard that they can really put out there on the floor. And Jalen Brunson is reportedly at the top of their list. And I'm sure a lot of different teams, I would love him on the Boston Celtics. A lot of different teams have him up there on their wish list because next year, how much can the Mavs afford to pay him? They've already got $139 million committed on their books. So it looks like Brunson might have to be on a move out of, purely financial reasons.
I think the Dallas Mavericks will find a way to keep him.
They have to.
I think they will find a way because of this. At the very least, Mo, he is in the upper echelon of the league as a backup point guard. Maybe he's in the lower half as a starter, but that's okay because you still have Luka Doncic, who's really your primary ball handler and point guard anyway.
Yeah.
But he has found a way to play with Luka, your best player. So to me, that's a bonus. He's a heady player. He can score. He's tough. He understands the game. He can shoot. And I like what he's doing. And he has leadership. So I think it is in their best interest to find a way to keep him no matter what moving forward, because he complements your best player.
What's interesting to me is, as you mentioned earlier, restricted free agency. And if you don't know what that means, you guys at home, it means a player can get offers from other teams, but the Dallas Mavericks can match whatever the other teams are offering to keep him there. But what's interesting about restricted free agency is, I don't know if you remember many years ago, a man named Tyler Johnson, who played basketball for the Miami Heat. And he hit restricted free agency once upon a time. And the Brooklyn Nets sent him a ridiculous offer. This is when Brooklyn had no draft picks, no players. They were at the bottom end of the league. So what their tactic was in free agency, they were just trying to overpay on all of these restricted free agents. So they were sending out offer sheets that were higher. They knew teams couldn't match, or if the teams matched, it would put the team worse off financially. So, he got a $50 million offer sheet from the Brooklyn Nets, and it forced the Miami Heat to match that. So it's going to be interesting to see if there are any teams out there who would try and overpay, because just like Brunson, Tyler Johnson was a point guard who you could look at being a great replacement or at the lower end of a starting point guard. So, that's just one interesting note to keep an eye on.